It's my hope and expectation that the world will long remember Jerry as an outstanding emergency room physician who helped thousands of patients over the course of his career to recover from illnesses and injuries of various sorts. He knew his stuff, and he was respected by all of his many colleagues who worked with him at various emergency departments over the years. Those of you who knew him professionally know what a great doctor he was. He loved being a doctor, and he was damn good at it. He was not only smart, he was also wise, and he could really connect with his patients. He had a knack for seeing through the BS and getting right to the core of issues. Most of us who are gathered here today, I think, knew him by one of his other titles: father, brother, uncle, and friend. I've had a lot of great friends in my life. Jerry was the gold standard. He made my life richer in so many ways, and I will miss him dearly. Throughout his life, he earned my respect, and I need to respect the decisions that he made towards the end of his life, even if I didn't like them. He had a few demons to battle. Even though he made a few mistakes in life, especially toward the end, that will never change the love and respect that I have for him. We both enjoyed reading Hunter S. Thompson, especially his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'd like to read you a brief quote by Hunter S. Thompson that I believe sums up Jerry's approach to life. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." None of us can know how much time we will have here on earth, nor can we foresee all the trials or misfortunes that will test us along the way. What we can do is live out our lives as best we can with purpose, with love, and with joy. We can use each day to show those who are closest to us how much we care about them, and we can try to make the world a better place. I believe that deep inside, Jerry knows he did that. He spent his time here on earth well. He made a difference and had a lasting impact on the lives of others. I met Jerry on the first day of medical school. We had an immediate connection. Back in those days, I was a bit of a tightwad, kind of OCD. You might say I was kind of a cheapskate. When Jerry and I would go out to eat with friends, I would divide the final bill between each of us down to a penny. I guess I expected everyone to pay their fair share. But Jerry taught me to chill out and see the bigger picture. He would say, "I'll just pay for the whole thing, and maybe, Chip, next time you can get it." He didn't sweat the small stuff. He was more concerned about enjoying the experience and developing great relationships with people. He gave me a new and better way to see the world. He was always generous. He would give a stranger the shirt off his back if they needed it. It was a valuable lesson for me, one that I will never forget. Jerry loved many things in life. As I'm sure you all know, prior to attending medical school at UCSD, he graduated from UCLA. And boy, did he love UCLA and his beloved Bruins. I just know that seeing all his family and friends here today wearing uniform broke his heart. Thank you for doing that. He loved his fraternity house, Phi Psi. He made significant contributions to the house after he became successful to ensure its survival in a campus environment that became increasingly hostile towards fraternity houses. He loved LA. He spent most of his life here, and I know there's no place on earth where he would rather live. He loved his Triumph TR6 convertible and driving it around Southern California on sunny days with the top down. He loved animals, especially those lucky enough to be his pet. Corona, Solo, others before them. He loved his family, his wife Lynn, especially his two beautiful daughters. And I hope each of you has a chance to talk with both Shannon and Danielle this afternoon so they can tell you what a loving, kind, and generous father he was. He loved his friends, all of you. And I know he would be pleased and honored to see all of you come today to celebrate his life. He loved a good adventure, and we shared quite a few of those over the years, along with some misadventures, I would say, as well. Today brings a flood of memories for me, and if I may, I'd like to share just a few of those memories with you. Before doing that, I'd like to give one more quote that reminds me of the way Jerry lived his life. This one is from the song "I Live" by One Republic. I hope when the water rises that you built a wall, and I hope that you spend your days because they all add up. And when that sun goes down, I hope you raise your cup. I wish that I could witness all your joy and all your pain, but until my moment comes, I'll say, I did it all. I owned every second that this world could give. I saw so many places, the things that I did. And with every broken bone, I swear, I lived. Back in medical school and residency, we threw some pretty awesome parties. We had a ton of fun while living together at our homes in Del Mar, Solana Beach, Manhattan Beach, with roommates Paul, Brian, Mark. Our group motto was work hard, play hard, and that approach seemed to serve us pretty well. I'd like to take a moment to point out Paul Priest, you raise your hand, and his wife Terry, who joined us from Sacramento. I'd also like to point out Brian Moffett and his wife Kim, who are in today from Bend, Oregon. They didn't hesitate to change their plans so they could be here today. The four of us were roommates together in Manhattan Beach during our residency years. In those days, Alex Kablansky, Jerry's best friend from his residency class at USC, seemed to be hanging around with us a lot. He really became the fifth element of our special brotherhood, Alex. Alex and his wife Annette joined us from Santa Barbara today. I think we all look back at those years now as some of the best in our lives. There were the late night poker games around the dining room table in Manhattan Beach, sipping on whiskey, smoking big cigars. We owned the world. There was the time while driving back from Lake Tahoe in his infamous brown Ford Pinto station wagon that the clutch literally disintegrated when we were still about 400 miles from LA. Somehow we figured it out. We used to love going for runs together on the beach, singing out loud to Bob Seger in the car, riding in the Phi Psi fraternity bus to his beloved Bruins to see them together at the Rose Bowl. The road trips we took to all the big ski areas across the western U.S. where our favorite meal was Doritos and beer. It was the time Paul and Jerry and I, after finishing our med school final exams, climbed up on top of the chimney on the top of our house in Del Mar, looking out at the ocean, drinking champagne out of the bar. Did a lot of stupid stuff like that. There were weekend road trips, like the one where we rounded up a carload of girls to do and headed from Manhattan Beach to Ensenada, Mexico, where after a night at Husson's Cantina, we packed like 10 of us into some cheap motel with one bed. We all got a laugh when Alex woke up the next morning with his face down in the bed, shoes still on, and all his clothes from the night before, pulled his head up slowly from the bedspread, which had vertical black stripes on it, and said, "Oh my God, I'm in a Mexican jail." Then we tried to quietly sneak out of there the next morning. I could still see the motel owner running after our car and yelling at us. We owed him more money because of all the people we crammed into that room. But we sped away in a cloud of dust. Then there was the day I talked him into dropping what looked like a tiny little piece of water paper. For those of you who don't know, a type of LSD. I had tried it once before and convinced Jerry this is something he needed to try sometime. Like I said, he was always up for an adventure. We decided to hike up a mountain, which was about an hour east of San Diego. Things were okay on the way up. When we got to the top, it seemed to hit him a little harder than it hit me. He felt like the whole mountain was rocking slowly back and forth like some giant bongo board, he told me. I was walking around looking at the view. He just kept holding on to this big rock. I said, "What are you doing, man?" He explained to me he was afraid the whole mountain, any second, I was going to tip sideways and he was just going to tumble off the bottom. Anyway, eventually he started feeling a little better. We began our way down the mountain. About halfway down, he started looking at me kind of funny. He sat down on a big rock on the side of the trail and announced he wasn't going any further. He was convinced at that point I had literally turned into the devil. And he knew exactly where I was taking him, so he refused to budge for about 30 minutes. I can still remember that conversation like it was yesterday. Somehow I eventually was able to convince him that I was in fact not Satan, and we eventually made it back to the car. Looking back at our adventure the next day, he decided he never wanted to do that again. To my knowledge, he never did. There were quite a few occasions when we found ourselves doing stuff that we probably shouldn't have been doing. Not to pick on Brian, but I can remember more than one occasion when Brian would suggest we all do something that wasn't a great idea. Terry would look at him and pause for a few seconds and say, "Sounds like a bad idea, Brian. I'm right behind you." At the end of my residency, Jerry and I took a bicycle trip together for 6 weeks on the coastal road around Ireland. We rode about 60 miles every day before finding a B&B and heading to the nearest pub for a few pints of Guinness. I think there's some pictures of us doing that around here. It was a bonding experience, one that I have always cherished. And even after we finished our residencies and moved apart, we kept in touch and continued to share some great adventures together. There was a time I was living in San Francisco. Jerry and I decided to rent motorcycles, drive up through Napa Valley together on what started out as a pretty warm summer day. We decided to drive back to San Francisco on the coast road, which took a lot longer than expected. By the time we got home, we were so cold we sat in the cruise ship for 2 hours before we could even move. Before my wedding, when Jerry was still a single guy, Brian and Jerry and I decided that sailing on the booze cruise from Long Beach to Ensenada would make a fun bachelor party. When the ship made an afternoon stop at Catalina, the three of us did a little island bar hopping together and got pretty toasted, even with our fear and loathing theme for the trip. But when the ship's whistle blew, signaling that it was time to return to the ship, Jerry was nowhere to be found. He met some girls at one of the bars. He apparently charmed them so much they invited him back to a private party. We figured he must have been having a good time when the ship set sail for Ensenada. He wasn't on it. And Brian and I resigned ourselves to finishing the trip without him. Well, no sooner had we left Avalon Harbor when we heard this small boat horn beeping at us, looked over the sideboard and see some guy waving, ripping along the starboard side of the cruise ship in a ocean-worthy speedboat. Of course, it was Jerry, with some girl driving the boat in a bikini. I gotta tell you, from our perspective, the scene was priceless. Sure enough, the ship's captain gave the signal, stopped the ship, lowered the side deck, so Jerry could reboard the ship. We got a pretty good laugh out of that one, and had a good story to tell when we were sitting at the ship's cocktail bar later that evening. When I got married to my beautiful wife, Melanie, Jerry was my best man, and the toast he gave at our reception was so skillfully written and heartfelt it touched me deeply. That was Jerry, well-behaved and responsible most of the time, but pushing the envelope and living on the edge of other times. I guess that's one of the things we all loved about him. He was one in a million, and I'm so grateful for the time I got to spend with him. We saved each other from ending up in equal trouble many times over the years. When the people you love are in trouble, you want to save them. In the end, I could not save them, and I'll always regret that. So let us all learn from the way Jerry lived his life. Be kind, be generous, open your home, share your wisdom, share your laughter, and show others what it means to truly love. In closing, please raise your glass and a toast to Jerry. He touched each of our lives and made them better. I will remember him until the day I die, and I will carry his spirit with me. I look forward to meeting up with you again one day, my friend. Until then, may your soul forever be at peace, and may you be surrounded by love for the rest of your life.